into authentic conversations about ourselves and our community, exploring topics that uplift and inspire us. From personal growth to social change. So grab your teacup and get ready to join the conversation.
compliments of TMZ.
Ready to join the conversation. the USA versus Diddy. I kind of fell asleep. Anywho, Hi, Tanisha Talks Teas. This morning we had to come back up here because, oh my goodness, last night on the review of the USA versus Diddy trial, TMZ's presenting all throughout the entire trial. Y'all were in the chat telling me y'all could not hear. So long live, like 8-9 hours. I kind of fell asleep. Anywho, I'm gonna try to get that back up now for y'all to see if we cannot sip that tea and review the USA versus Diddy. Okay. So I'm going to give it some tests. We're going to see if y'all can't hear.
And lots of it. Diddy's ex-assistant told the jury how her boss threatened her with murder in true gangster fashion. She claims Diddy kidnapped her in a blind fit of jealousy. Another former assistant told jurors she was repeatedly sexually assaulted, brutalized, threatened.
You thought Diddy was going to be found not guilty.
I'm about to have a debate with Nancy Grace.
Guns, burglaries, horrific violence, all part of a mob-like racketeering organization, so say prosecutors. And for every crime of the century, there has to be an O.J. Glove moment. And that went down in court this week. Welcome to United
All right,
States
we have sound, people.
The Diddy trial.
This morning,
so up to this point,
we have sound. Thank you, guys. Sorry about last night. Like I said, we had a late night. We were up. We were just getting together all of the things of Diddy's trial to come up to be current on understanding it. Okay, so now we're going to just review the United States versus Diddy. Let's get it.
To me, at least, it felt like there was a lot of testimony about a crazed, jealous, criminal boyfriend, but not necessarily a racketeer. That changed in a big way this week. And I think on racketeering right now, Sean Diddy Combs is on the ropes. So let's get into it. Our guests, Nancy Grace, who is the host of Crime Stories with Nancy Grace, Joe Tacopina, who is a very celebrated criminal defense lawyer, recently won the ASAP Rocky case, Ebony K. Williams, host of Equal Justice and Holding Court, and Ashley Banfield, the host of Banfield on News Nation and the host of the Drop Dead Serious podcast. So Capricorn Clark testified. She is Diddy's ex-assistant. She testified that when Diddy found out that she had previously worked for Diddy's arch enemy, Suge Knight, he went nuts and threatened her, and at a point started accusing her of stealing jewelry, locked her in a building 5 days in a row, essentially kidnapped her, gave her a lie detector test, and she was told, if you flunk this lie detector test, you may end up in the East River. That's code for we're going to kill you. So, Joe, we have talked about this before, where you kind of poo-pooed racketeering. I'm feeling it.
I'm still poo-pooing it because after this threat that apparently she now took seriously, she came back and asked for a job back after he got arrested. Don't forget, he was charged with this act, okay? And then she wanted her job back. She went to him and said, this never would have happened to you if you had just kept me as your employer, as your assistant. So let me say this. It's these pieces of testimony, when you put it in context, cross-examination is important here. When she was cross-examined and it was brought out that she had actually asked for her job back after this alleged comment was made to her, clearly the comment didn't have much weight. It certainly didn't scare her and certainly didn't faze her from wanting to be in his orbit again, even after the United States of America him with that act. So I see she's up there in a cartoon buffing her eye, but she really wasn't crying when she said, and look, from the people I've spoken to who are in there, who are court lawyers, who analyze cases as lawyers, they basically said to me that her testimony didn't really help the government. If anything, it showed that, you know, a lot of the things he said to people were not really taken seriously. I'm going to throw you in the East River if something comes back from Suge Knight. I mean, maybe that wasn't a real serious threat because she wanted her job back after he got charged with racketeering.
If you point a gun at me and ask me for all my money, and I give it to you, but I'm not scared, is it still robbery?
It depends if you take me seriously or not. If you and I, if I point the gun at you and ask me for money, and you knew me, and I don't think you would take that seriously. But if I'm just an individual and you're a lunatic and you're not scared because you don't have a fear gene, and I point a gun at you, of course it's still robbery if I forcibly take it from you. But that's not here. That's a great analogy for another case, not for this case. Yeah,
but Joe,
please remember
how about all the times? Joe, how about all the times that these?
Let me finish now.
You're just saying that none of this is serious. How could you say that?
For 1 second.
There has to be. Let's remember, racketeering is not just a bunch of bad acts all clopped together. Racketeering is a racketeering enterprise. For the purpose of RICO, there's a racketeering enterprise. And what that has to be, here's the law. I'm going to read it because no one seems to want to deal with the fact that the racketeering enterprise has to exist before the acts are called RICO acts. So a law defines the enterprise as including any individual, partnership, corporation, association, or other entity, okay, and any union or group of individuals associated, in fact, although not a legal entity. And they can't be, so it's not basically a company who does a bunch of illegal things. It has to be an organization that was formed to commit crimes. The whole purpose of the enterprise is a criminal enterprise. That's why it's traditionally used for organized crime, for cartels, for other organizations who basically are born and are existing to commit criminal acts.
Yeah. You know what, though? Lots of legal garbage collection happened while people were getting murdered and thrown into the fishes for the mob. And it was still RICO.
It was still RICO. By the mafia.
I just can't. First of all, I just want to go back to the first thing you said, which I find so upsetting. Joe, you know how much I adore you, but I'm going to tear you a new one right now. How could you say they didn't take what he said seriously? They said they were terrified for their lives. I've heard the word terrified, petrified, ran for my life, hid for my life, got her out of there, snuck her away to hotels, ran for it, terrified her parents were going to find out, terrified I was going to lose my livelihood, terrified I was going to be beaten again or molested again. How could you say they didn't take it seriously?
Well, I could say it because she then said, can I have my job back? Can I have my job back?
Two things can be true at the same time.
Once again go over. You are trying to negate a full body of evidence where not 1, 2, 5, 6 witnesses say that they were in fear of their lives. They saw brutal beatings. They saw sex assaults. They saw someone have plastic surgery on their face after a beating from Sean Combs. And you want to tell me they stayed because they wanted to? The fact that on one occasion she wanted a job back, she needed a job back, does not negate months, years of terror. And I'm glad you read the definition on RICO because you said an association. Once the first crime happened, that association called Bad Boy Sean Combs went forward with crime, and every witness that you've heard from, Tacopina, has been another minion, another employee of Diddy's carrying out crimes. They've proven it. And this last witness who's on the stand at the end of today, Mia, was the nail in the coffin. And it's been death by 1,000 cuts. Every witness says the same thing.
Okay, hey, well, listen, I guess the jury will determine that, right? I mean, you guys are all so confident. You're like you're sitting in the courtroom. Yeah. You know, a lot of people on this panel were talking about my trial. So are you. What's the problem? Rocky trial, he was guilty. There's a video. He was guilty. Anybody that has a different opinion than you? A jury came out and said, no, he's not guilty. Nancy, and you were one of the commentators on that saying he was guilty. So let's be
What are you even talking about? We're talking about Sean Combs.
That will determine the verdict here. So let's not all assume we know what that jury's thinking, guys.
You know, hey, guys, I think that's actually...
Don't assume, Tacopina.
lot of evidence in this case proving him to be a criminal, a bad guy, a batterer, all of the above, check, check, check. Does it equate to racketeering? That's a question. I'm not saying it's a completely no way possible he gets convicted.
RICO's not just for the mob anymore.
Hold on for a
Look
second.
at the law books.
Ebony,
Yes.
Joe is making a point that...
Is he?
Just a point that usually there is some kind of a foundational crime organization when it comes to racketeering. And what Joe seems to be saying is he is a criminal, but it's helter-skelter. It's kind of shotgun, if you will, that there's no criminal organization. It's every time I don't get my way or what I want, I will commit a crime against you. But it's very helter-skelter and not organized.
Yeah, well, I think, listen, if Joe wants to give Sean Combs a demerit for not being the best, most well-organized criminal enterprise, then he can have at it. But simply because Sean Combs doesn't operate exactly and precisely like John Gotti does not make him any less of a candidate who has demonstrated predicate acts that are criminal in nature. Ashley Bansfield listed 35 of them last episode. We can name 5 of them off the top of my head right now. People are talking about rape, kidnapping, holding people at gunpoint. We're talking about coercion. We're talking about all kinds of things, probably wire fraud. Let's get the bookkeepers on the stand. So again, when you have this level of predicate acts, we talked about associations. We heard about organizations. Nancy Grace just said it, the minions, the people that work for him. Indeed, was it started, initiated for purely criminal activities? I don't know, but I certainly know they engaged in criminal activity in both Bad Boys Records and Combs Enterprises for well over a decade.
Ebony, do you know that...
Let's go!
You can serve up MasterChef anytime.
This is about teamwork.
Before all new episodes on Wednesdays.
I can't hear you!
I'm doing my best. Calm down.
I'm expecting fireworks.
MasterChef Dynamic Duos. All new Wednesdays on Fox or anytime on Hulu.
Love saving money? Then it's time to join AARP.
While they're paying bills over on TMZ, we want to say thank you for allowing us to have this fair usage of this commentary of the USA versus Diddy. Y'all, thank you for getting up with me. I am so happy now y'all have sound. Apologize for last night. Okay, it was a late night, y'all. I kind of dozed off and did not go back and check. I did not go back and check to see if the sound was working for y'all. All right, we're back up with USA versus Diddy.
RICO has been applied and prosecuted police departments, and they certainly did not originate to do crime. Did they? No. But slowly they slipped into it, and they were subjected to a RICO prosecution, and the state won. So, you know what? I appreciate what you're doing, Tacopina. You're defending. That's what you're paid to do, but you're just dead wrong.
Well, look,
I'm not paid to defend him here. I actually chose not to defend him here, Nancy, Grace. But I'm analyzing the law, and a jury is not going to be quick to accept Bad Boy Entertainment.
Somebody's getting mad. You're going to turn red in the face and your eyes bulge out again?
Well, come on,
I can't
Nancy.
wait.
Nancy, come on.
At least my eyes move, Nancy. At least my eyes move. Relax. So let's not go into physical characteristics, okay? So listen, I'm just simply saying.
I'm not agreeing to that, but okay.
Thing.
Oh, God.
Right,
You know what,
okay,
guys?
Harvey, you got it. That's what you want.
I gotta be honest with you.
My eyes bulging.
Nobody's getting
At least my
mad.
eyes
I gotta
have
be honest
movement.
with you, Joe. Let's just say that you're absolutely right. Let's just give that to you.
I'm not saying I am,
But
Ashley.
no. Hold it. I'm saying let's
Okay.
just, for parlor games, say that you're absolutely right. You have 12 people in that witness box who I think will feel a lot like me right now. Yesterday, I was almost in tears, and that takes a lot for me to feel like that. I've covered these cases for 38 years. I was almost in tears listening to one incident after the other of the most violent, despicable abuse and language and degradation, humiliation, extortion. I could list all the 37 crimes, but I started to feel sick to my stomach about these real people, these kids who were paid $50,000, $60,000 a year, who developed like stress-related alopecia from the nerves and the frustration and the terror of working for this guy. So let's just say you're right.
Okay, but wait a minute, Ashley.
I'm not done. That is a jury. That's a jury that's going to hate him and may just say, I don't give a you know what. If he's not totally technically guilty, he's got to go down.
But then what you're saying, Ashley, is they'll just ignore the law and they'll do what they want to do, and that's not a great outcome. Wait. So I want to raise this because I think there is another element to racketeering that is really unusual in this case. With the Kid Cudi arson attack, with the Molotov cocktail, they started presenting evidence with an LAPD arson investigator, and they were trying to show that Diddy's associate did that. He never really connected the dots. But there is so much in this trial about Diddy got his people to kidnap somebody, to threaten somebody, to blow up somebody's car, to burglarize a house. In true racketeering, if this really is, and it's a crime organization, why isn't anybody else being prosecuted other than Diddy?
Immunity.
They're starting at the top.
Who got immunity?
We don't know that others
we've already heard two people. I think, as just said, two people have been granted immunity. And there is a thing such as unindicted co-conspirators. These co-defendants are now witnesses. They're being used to get Combs. And there's nothing wrong with that.
We've heard Cudi's testimony. We've heard Cudi's testimony.
No one has
Yes, they
cooperation
do.
agreement.
Joe, yes, they do. One of the assistants testified. He said, I've been granted
he bought
immunity.
drugs. He got immunity because he purchased drugs. That's not
Two
what we're talking
witnesses
about.
got immunity.
We're talking about
That's also
hierarchy,
immunity.
like a lieutenant who'd be cooperating against his boss, saying, yes, we were part of an enterprise. I did wrong, but he did wrong with me.
The illegal acts that he committed while cooperating under the orders of Diddy, he was granted immunity for. So yeah, he got up on the stand, and many of them have said, I'm here, and I don't want to be.
But yes, I understand. You're right, Ashley. But that's about purchasing drugs. What Harvey's asking, I think, or even Nancy may have mentioned this, was about the people who get immunity for doing this are people who normally are the lieutenants, the underbosses, the assistants, the higher-ranking people in the conspiracy.
Joe, I think you're holding Sean Combs to a very particular standard of what you are accustomed to racketeering looking like. Maybe here, in a traditional mafia, Goodfellas style enterprise. I think Nancy hit it on the head. There's kind of two levels of this operation. Sean Combs, the Emperor King Almighty himself, and minions, straight minions. He doesn't have a 5-pronged tier system like some of the more sophisticated organizations I think you're referencing.
So, hey, I want to bring in Mia. We talked about her. She is one of Diddy's ex-assistants. She is alleged victim number 4. Her name isn't really Mia. She got anonymity. The judge has made it clear to everybody in the courtroom, do not in any way divulge her identity. She testified about what she says was Diddy's conduct involving rape against her, various forms of other sexual assaults, brutalizing. She said, and this is a quote, pretty stunning statement. Here's what I don't understand. I want to bring Brian in right now. To me, Brian is our TMZ producer who's been in the courtroom. To me, I feel like the prosecution's hopscotching between the domestic violence against various people and the threats against individuals from, the Kid Cudi or the Capricorn testimony about racketeering. That Mia, to me, should have gone right after Cassie, because that's kind of the picture they're painting with that kind of sexual abuse. But it feels like the prosecution is just going all over the place and the story's fragmented.
Well, Maureen Comey had said in court that there were scheduling issues and they had to fly people across the country to get them here back and forth. But you're right, Harvey. It does feel like they're all over the place. But in the latest batch of testimony on Mia, it was heartbreaking. I mean, here is this woman on the stand. She's got a tissue in one hand. Her makeup is running down her face. She can barely speak. She's talking about what she called the most shameful thing of my life. And she's whispering as she's getting out the fact of she was forced to have oral sex. I mean, the question, she couldn't even say the word penis. The prosecutor had to say, did you put Mr. Combs' penis in your mouth? Yes, she whispered. It was grueling. It was heartbreaking. And the jury, I'm sitting there looking at him, New York poker face, no reaction.
Okay, so.
But I looked over at Diddy as all this is happening, and he kind of looks down, and we saw him do this. And then he looked at the jury. So it was very, very heavy.
So, Brian, on Friday, the prosecution actually was the one that raised this, that Mia got a settlement from Diddy of several $100,000. She had asked for $10 million, and they had a private mediation for this. And in that mediation, she never brought up sexual assault or rape. And it seems the prosecution tried to get in front of this so the defense wouldn't raise it. But the intimation here is clear that what the prosecutors are worried about is that the jury might believe that the sexual assault claims were made up after the fact. She says it's something she never even wanted to deal with, which is why she never mentioned it in the mediation. How was that received?
Well, in the courtroom, everybody was surprised that the ask was such a big number, $10 million. But the result, once the attorneys got their cut, whittled down to a little over $200,000. And she had said in court that she planned to take the information on the sexual abuse to her grave. It's not something she ever wanted to talk about. It was such an interesting day on Friday as we were looking through Mia's social media history, what she was posting on her Instagram feed way back when, a very smiling, happy, proud time to be associated with Sean Combs, the exact same time that Brian Steele contended she was telling the jury that she was living in terror.
I just wanted to make the point, Brian, and thank you for breaking all of that down, because you did have eyes on this very compelling witness. When the prosecutors asked her a question that normally I think would be a very bad fact set up for the prosecution, did you actually tell Sean Combs no? And Mia, in that very whispered, fragile voice you described, Brian, says, I didn't feel I could. I didn't feel I could tell him no about a sandwich even. I think that kind of goes to a level of force and innate coercion and never feeling free to say no that is going to be very important for the prosecution to make the case.
Hey, Nancy, I got to say, if you listen to this testimony and believe half of it, you absolutely hate Diddy. How would you feel? I'm really interested in this. How would you feel if this jury comes back in 45 minutes, guilty on all counts? Because I remember with O.J. Simpson when they came back in 2 hours, and it was like, you didn't really evaluate the evidence. If they come back and convict him, but they just do it because they hate him, is that a satisfying verdict?
I've had a verdict come back in 45 minutes before. I think what you're doing right now is projecting, because what we've heard from the stand makes a lot of people hate Sean Combs for what multiple witnesses say he did to Cassie Ventura, he did to Mia, he did to Capricorn Clark, and it goes on and on and on. The beatings, the rapes, the sodomies, the this, the that. Yes, he's the object of hate. But if that jury turns it around in an hour, no, I would not be concerned, because they have heard this evidence from day one. It's been sifting down. They've been percolating. And what I think the state is doing right now, earlier you said they were, quote, all over the place with their witnesses. I disagree. They are building, and what they're building on is Cassie Ventura's testimony. Every single witness is corroborating her fear, their fear, the fact that employees did his bidding, even if it was an illegal act, right down to that Molotov, for Pete's sake. Because this week, we heard the defense go cray in the courtroom, papers, chairs, crazy, mistrial. Of course, they never seen Tacopina do this. Miss an objection. They let several questions get in before they went, what? And objected on the fingerprint evidence. It was destroyed conveniently by LAPD. So now the jury's probably thinking, oh, my stars, they were all right. He even got to the police and destroyed the evidence in the arson case, the car bombing. I thought that was a big moment in court this week.
Was it a correct moment? Was it a correct moment in court where they made this insinuation without proof?
What is that, a correct moment in court?
Was it appropriate for the prosecution to raise the specter of Diddy destroying this evidence, which, by the way, he may have done it.
Say that.
Well, they insinuated that, Nancy. That was the whole point, that the statute of limitations...
No, they said, what happened to the evidence card?
Right.
And the defense, methinks thou doth protest too much, says Shakespeare, they nutted up, technical legal term, when the state said, well, what happened to the fingerprint card? It was destroyed by someone not connected to the arson investigation. Who? I want to know who destroyed it and why did they destroy the fingerprint evidence in a car bomb that Diddy clairvoyantly predicted 3 weeks before. I'm going to bomb his car. And bam, the car gets bombed. I wonder who did that.
No one said it was destroyed. They said they lost it.
Disappeared
they lost
in the evidence locker.
Right, they lost it. But how about this?
They said it was destroyed.
How about the government trying to keep out the fire department's finding? The LA Fire Department found DNA of a female, okay, that the prosecution try and keep out on that Molotov cocktail. They try to keep out the DNA of a female. So I don't know. I mean, why wouldn't that come in? Why
I don't know what you're talking about. It's already come out in court that there was female DNA on it, but we can't match it to anybody.
What came out in court was the LA Fire Department found DNA that was a female's DNA, which the prosecution tried to keep out of court, but came into court. Maybe you weren't there for that part, or missed that part.
It came into evidence.
That's
like I just said.
Cocktail. That's the Molotov cocktail. That's one of the predicate acts. So I wonder whose DNA and and fingerprints.
Exactly. I'm glad you finally agree with me. It's an arson, a predicate act to prove RICO.
Yeah, but when they're okay, guys, that's just not the case. You know what they were trying to do there. They were trying to insinuate that this was all at the behest of Diddy, that whoever this woman was somebody who worked for Diddy, but they couldn't prove it.
Maybe it was.
But maybe it wasn't.
Maybe it was.
Who else would destroy the evidence?
I'm not worried about it.
Oh, let's get him into federal prison.
Maybe it was.
I sorted through it all.
He's already tried to bribe one police officer.
I took an hour to sort through all that, and I thought, why am I wasting my time? It's like a teaspoon from the dirty fire hose. Can I just show you how many notes I have to take on this? Because I can't keep track of the times that I said, oh, dang, that's a predicate act of RICO, and that's corroborated by 4 witnesses beforehand. Like,
Ashley,
I cannot keep track of these offenses.
Ashley, let me ask you, and you know I think the world of you. Because you talked before about the reaction you had to that testimony, and I couldn't imagine.
Which one? You got to specify which one. I've had tears for several of them.
But hold on. Were you there? Did you hear it in person?
I've been following it moment by moment on live feeds by 3 different reporters with 3 different perspectives.
Okay, that's well, listen,
I can't be on television right now if I'm in the courtroom with you.
I understand. I'm not criticizing you, but you understand there's a difference. In federal court, there's no camera, so you have to either be in the courtroom or in the overflow courtroom to actually see the witnesses. So getting someone else's sort of interpretation via
3 different interpretations, Joe. 3, not just someone else's. 3 different.
I'm not faulting you. It's fine. It's how we have to do it here. We're in federal court.
I'm just saying I'm getting 3 witnesses, not 1.
If you told me you were reduced to tears because you saw that, that would mean a lot to me because I know you. It means a little more less to me that you were reading someone's interpretation. That's all I'm saying. It's not a criticism.
3 different people's interpretations, and I think it was such pile on. I keep saying the dirty fire hose, Joe. My God, I barely cried when I was at war, but the amount of just awful behavior against these kids that seem to be so meek. That's what upset me. They felt like they were prey to the predator, and they were so scared to do anything about it. And by the way, can I just say, you used to have a client named Donald Trump. Donald Trump attacked Ted Cruz, destroyed his wife, and destroyed his own father, and Ted Cruz went crawling back to Donald Trump, and so did Marco Rubio. Little Marco, and they went crawling back to Donald Trump. So don't ask why people take it constantly and crawl back to the abuser.
That's why Ted Cruz did that.
That's why they crawl back to the abuser. It's their job. It's their livelihood.
And we're going to get into that in a minute, but before we do, one of the most fascinating people in this saga to me has been Ray J. He has a long, very complicated and conflicted relationship with Diddy, and especially when it comes to the various charges that have been made, and he's joining us right now. Ray, I am really interested to hear how you have absorbed this testimony and what your thoughts are about Diddy, who is a longtime friend of yours.
Well, first off, I'm fanning out with Nancy Grace. I mean, wow. Nancy Grace. I mean, even if we disagree, Nancy Grace. I'm such a fan. I can't believe this.
I
just
heard
had
a
to
rumor. You said that you thought Diddy was going to be found not guilty. Is that true? Did you say that?
Oh my God, I'm about to have a debate with Nancy Grace. Yes.
I'm all up on you, man. I'm 3 inches up your tailpipe. Did you say he was going to get acquitted? Because I think you did.
No, I also said that I think he'll be acquitted faster than what people think, and because I think this is a circus act, and I think
so
that
you
this
said
is
acquitted and faster. Okay.
I just feel like
I'll see you at the sentencing, my friend.
Wow.
Hey, Ray J, welcome.
I love this, and I love you, Nancy. But I have to disagree because I think that this is the most wildest case of like sexual conversation, right? Dirty fire pipes and
rape?
Like The Punisher and like, you know, everything else that goes with this. It's a very dirty situation. And I feel like it's becoming a circus act for stuff that doesn't make any sense for what Diddy's being charged for. I mean, there's a lot of bad things happening, and we all agree with that. But a RICO, racketeering, sex trafficking, like I've been with Diddy a long time. And if I haven't seen any of these kind of heinous acts happening, then where was I when it was happening? Like Capricorn Clark, I love her. She's one of the closest people. I grew up with her. But I just feel like now that this thing is getting big and everybody's swarming in, I think that people are having these loud, wild stories because, again, when you have lawyers and when you have people like helping you plan before you get on the stand, you know, they want to give you something that can,
Ray J, are they lying? Are they lying,
Yeah,
Ray J, under oath, under the penalty of perjury? Are they lying? All these people that surrounded Diddy?
I think that they're saying. I think that
they're all lying, and Sean Combs and Ray J are telling the truth.
If you answer the question.
Nancy, I love you. I just wanted to finish. I think that they're coming up with the stories that could stick in this situation. So, like, Puffy wanted to throw me off the bridge or whatever. Like, come on. Puffy's never threw anybody off the bridge. So how can that be true? You know, I mean, there's a lot of things that are happening in this case that I think are personal. And I think once now you have a group of people doing it, I think now you want to throw your 2 cents in with maybe some of the things that you might have felt happen, but you still want it to come around after and party and hang around and live life and make money. How does that work together? You get what I'm saying? Because, and honestly, I think that what we should take from this is that when somebody does something to you, you should act immediately on it, because acting the way later.
Ray J,
and yet they don't.
Aaron Judge leads the Yankees monster shot against Rafael Devers and the rival Red Sox. Saturday, 7 Eastern.
Okay, sippers, early morning. Last night on the show, we didn't have any sound. I apologize. So now we do. So glad that you guys can hear now. They are talking about Ray J. As y'all know, Ray J entered the group chat on Diddy. I have done a lot of commentary on Ray J and Diddy's relationship and my speculations and opinions. Y'all can go back and review that with me as well, right? So, yeah. I believe that Ray J is more involved. I really honestly do, as far as, you know, what he knows, what he's been around. As he just said himself out of his own mouth, he has been around Diddy since he was, you know, young. And how can, you know, he not know about any of the freak offs, any of the things that have been alleged to have been said and done about Diddy? Okay. What do you guys think? Drop your teacups in the chat. Remember, when you come into the tea chat, to like and subscribe as you get your tea filled up of the Diddy United States versus Diddy trial. Okay, we are reviewing that this morning. Now that we have sound, okay, it's back up.
Because unless we were there, you're right, Ray J. None of us know exactly exactly what happened in each moment of Sean Combs' life, but Sean Combs and these alleged victims, right? Let's go
Absolutely.
with Capricorn
And how
Clark.
you doing today?
Okay, how you doing, Rachel? Good to see you, brother. When we talk about Capricorn Clark, and she tells a story about Sean Combs holding her at gunpoint. That's what she said, right? Forcing her to get in the car, go on this ride along to Kid Cudi's house, and then threaten further harm at that point, right? You know why it's going to be easy for some of these jurors to believe it, Ray J? Because we've seen photos of guns that were confiscated from the homes of Sean Combs. So it's not going to feel
confiscated.
outlandish.
Listen, guns confiscated, not guns and pictures drawn with Diddy doing what they said he was doing.
I understand that, but do you understand how a juror could then make the reasonable connection between if a man is having this type of arsenal in his personal home? Yeah, I'm going to say I can believe he held one of those guns himself. They can believe that, Ray J. That's not far-fetched.
First off, everybody can have a gun in their home to protect themselves and their family, right?
Of course they can. We believe in the Second Amendment.
So now we got pictures of a gun on the table. What is that?
Yeah.
It's on the
if
table.
I'm a juror, I could believe reasonably that I can connect one dot to the other. That's all I'm saying, Ray J.
All I'm saying is that. Yes.
You know, Ray J. Okay, let's leave the guns aside for a second. How about the multiple witnesses? Hey, Ray J, it's good to see you, my friend. How about the multiple witnesses who have all corroborated each other, one after the other on the stand, saying they witnessed Cassie being beaten to a pulp. They were afraid for their lives and their safety. And not only that, we heard Mia say, quote, I had to do everything he told me, including hiding the fact that he'd gashed her eye to the point where she needed stitches. The quote was, tell the doctor that Cassie was drunk and hit her head. That's what you call obstruction of justice. Like, doesn't any of that sit with you? Are they all just flat out lying one after the other about the exact same facts?
I think if you say exact same facts, none of them are saying the same thing.
Everybody has saying that exact same fact.
Everybody has a different story. Everybody has a different story.
There are 3 accounts of these same stories. I'm telling you, I've been watching every witness moment to moment. They have down to what they were wearing and where the person was sleeping. I mean, it's frightening how incredibly ingrained these memories are into all of these witnesses. The assistants, the friends, the stylist, Cassie herself, the best friend of Cassie, they all have similar, if not identical, stories of the same acts. Are they all lying? Do you think they're all lying?
And they seem like they're all in one big group to tear down Diddy. And it feels like the lawyers have given them like this extra like energy to like go over the top.
You have had a long relationship with Diddy. Have you communicated with him since the trial began?
I haven't. And I know that he's probably going through a lot. So is everybody else in the trial. Again, there's people in the trial that's testifying against Diddy that are my close friends. I love Capricorn Clark. Capricorn and I have spent way more time than she spent with Diddy, right? But what I can say, and I don't mean to take any credibility from her because I love her, but I was friends with Suge and Diddy at the same exact time. And Suge knows it, and Diddy knows it. I would go hang out with Suge, and I would go hang out with Diddy in the same day. Where's that same energy with me? And they both
Do I have
knew.
to make it? But Ray J,
it usually happens to women.
Your privilege. Yeah, you're a man, Ray J. You're a famous man. Brother, you've been famous since you were a kid. You have a different level of power than Capricorn Clark would. You acknowledge that.
And I love Capricorn. I love you, Capricorn, and I know you're gonna be mad at me.
Ray, I want you to listen to something because you mentioned that you're friends with both Suge and Diddy. I talked to Suge this week when he was in jail. Listen to what he said about Capricorn.
When I thrown her on the bus, she felt scared. She felt afraid. And she felt that she was pressured.
But what did she say? What did she say about the threats, Suge?
She felt she was helpless. I think she was looking for help.
Was she concerned for her safety? I mean, did she think this was a hollow threat, or did she think Diddy would make good on it when she talked to you?
She thought he'd make good on it. But you got to understand something, Harvey. Death Row and Bad Boy is more closer than people would think.
So he is saying, Ray, that he believes these were not hollow threats, that she had justifiable reason to fear for her life.
Yeah, but Harvey, he also said that Diddy should walk. He also said that he shouldn't be in jail and that he should walk because of what he's being charged for. Like, if you told me that the Kardashians was being charged for racketeering, I might believe it. But Diddy, sex trafficking, and all these other extra things, like, it's, to me, knowing him, knowing the situation, being around with most of the people that's testifying, you know, I just feel like there's somebody at the top who's making a statement, who's making a point. I'm sure Diddy got the point. Free Diddy, he got the point. He's chilling now.
That's not how it works,
I mean, man, I know, I get it, but I'm just keeping it real. Like, it's not okay to throw something extra on a man when the charges could have been something totally different, right? That probably could have.
These might be the charges that apply if the state. First of all, we got what, 2 more weeks of testimony, so we are just hearing. I would tell you that a lot of people would agree with what you're saying, Ray J, until they heard from Capricorn Clark. A lot of people said, I see domestic violence, I see assault, I see horrible acts, but I don't know if I'm seeing an enterprise at play advancing those criminal acts with Sean Combs at the helm until they heard from Capricorn Clark.
Okay, Ray.
Now, Capricorn
Ray.
Clark is my people. That's my family. I consider Cap my family, and I still feel the same way.
By the way, note taken about the shot you just took to the Kardashians. We appreciate you coming on, man.
Thank you. Am I in trouble, Harvey?
You're not in trouble.
Okay, man.
Thanks, Ray.
Yes, you are.
Hey, guys, I got to ask you about something the defense did. So there was an LAPD officer who testified that he found a black glove in Kid Cudi's car after the arson attack. And Cuddy said that it was his driving glove. And so the cops didn't test it for DNA. Mark Agnifilo got up, and it felt to me, and if you look at the glove, it looks like the glove in the O.J. Simpson case. And it felt like he was trying to duplicate a Johnny. I'm really serious, Joe. Look, I think there's intention behind a lot, because why else would they mention, you didn't test that glove? No further questions. It felt like it was this forced moment for people to think, oh, the cops are incompetent just like an O.J. Simpson. That's the way it felt to me.
Yeah, clearly what they're going to do is argue. This is a reasonable doubt case, right? So they're going to argue that a reasonable doubt is created when something isn't done, when something is not tied off, when a corner is not sort of obliterated. So you have a situation where you have a glove, a piece of evidence. Why wouldn't they test it? Because it could produce DNA. It could produce evidence, forensic evidence, that could identify the perpetrator or the owner of the car, for example. I just think they're going to obviously use that to show, hey, listen, they didn't really evaluate all the evidence in this case properly. That's what they're going to do. I don't think it's
not what's going to happen. Agnifilo looked like an idiot when he tried to pretend he was Johnny Cochran. Okay, that worked with an LA jury, not with a New York jury, and Agnifilo is no Cochran. And I think we all saw that under the intense cross-examination that Harvey Levin gave him about the baby oil. Okay, that was embarrassing. So Agnifilo stands up in court and tries to equate a glove in the back of the victim's car. The victim says, oh, yeah, that's mine. That they don't test? Yeah, because they know it's Kid Cudi's. So that whole thing was a sham and made Agnifilo look like he was grandstanding and he's a Johnny Cochran wannabe. Bam!
Okay, a couple of other things. So Capricorn Clark testified on cross-examination that Cassie was a bad singer. And there was also testimony about Cassie possibly hooking up with Michael B. Jordan, according to her stylist, and an NFL player, possibly. It seems to me what the defense was trying to do was blow up the Stockholm theory, the Stockholm Syndrome theory, that this wasn't a woman who couldn't leave because she was a battered woman, but it was a woman who made choices. At least this was the argument I think they were trying to make, that she could succeed better with Diddy as a singer professionally, and that she could leave him for a movie star if she wanted to. So that's the way I understood it. I'm wondering if you guys understood it the same way and whether it worked.
I didn't think much of it other than if I were, well, I can't even put myself in those shoes because I wouldn't have lasted 10 seconds. But I mean, if she were that oppressed, terrified, fearful, battered, I'm sure she was looking for an out every chance she got. Deontay Nash testified he was always hiding her, helping to hide her from the abuse. So yeah, maybe she was looking for another boyfriend, and she didn't know any other life, it seemed, other than the boyfriend she had, who paid her salary, who held her career in his hand, who paid for her apartment, her phone, her clothes. So yeah, if she dumped Diddy, she'd be on the street. She probably needed another boyfriend, but needed to really work that in slowly
She'd
and make
probably
sure
be
that she
dead,
had protection
Ashley.
if she left. Amen. You're right. You're right.
I would also say this.
I mean, how
think
many
the whole
blows to
digging
the
up
head and gashes on the forehead could one person survive? How many kicks to the stomach? I mean, I really don't know what Levin and Tacopina are talking about. That one video of the beating she took at Intercontinental, that happened all the time. When she found out Combs was coming after her at that hotel, she wanted to jump off the balcony, right? Like many sex trafficking victims that I have represented, many of them would rather die than go back. So, you know, I think you guys are ignoring, that being Tacopina, ignoring the brutality with which he treated her. And everybody stood by and watched it
hold on, Joe.
happen,
Hold on, just
which
not even a little
enforced the
bit.
fact that
Ignoring
it could
it, not even a
continue.
little bit. That's what this whole case is premised on, the brutality. The emotional rise you get from watching that video is disgusting. It's despicable. It's gross. And he's a brutalizer. He's a domestic abuser. And he's horrible. All that's great. Sex trafficking, that's not sex trafficking. That's a misdemeanor assault in state court. That's domestic violence. That's a crime. But that's not sex trafficking. She was his girlfriend.
Force, coercion,
arranged
control.
freak-offs. There's
Harvey, can I
evidence of
please get
consent
to the
left and right.
question you
Not
actually
consent to
asked
get beaten up,
which
not
was
consent to
about
get beaten up, but there was
the value
evidence of consent
of the
on these
testimony
freak-offs.
that Kathy
She arranged them
Ventura is a
herself.
bad singer.
She claimed she was
I actually
sexually
think it
assaulted
has
and went back.
significance.
Okay.
Joe, okay, let's get Harvey
Here's
back
the
to
good
the question,
news.
please.
There's a jury of 12 who actually get to decide this, not you guys. And if you listen to
You
what
guys
Brian
think
said,
what you're
to see
seeing
Brian,
is
who's in the courtroom
consent?
watching
You're
that
all
jury,
crazy.
watching the jury, what Brian said is they're very deadpanned. There's no emotion on their face. They're not crying like Ashley is when they're listening to testimony. They're
Hey, Harvey,
listening
let
to
me
it.
know when you want
So
to get to the
don't know what
question
that
you
jury's
asked.
thinking.
I'm
They
ready
could
to
be
hear
thinking
Disgusted.
enough
Hold
is
on.
enough.
Well, in a way, Ebony, he is answering that question. He's talking about that he's arguing. I'm not saying it's true or not. I'm just listening. But he's saying this was a consensual relationship that had a lot of brutality in it, and that she exercised certain options. So he is kind of answering that.
Okay, so let me get to the singing testimony, because a lot of people on a lot of blogs, you know, made a big stink of it. I actually took it this way. When you think about the fact that Capricorn Clark says Cassie was a, quote, studio artist, which is industry speak for she can't really sing. So then why does Sean Combs take a 19-year-old who can't really sing and sign her to a 10-album record deal?
Right.
It actually starts to look dangerously close to indentured servitude to me. It looks like putting her on a 10-year leash that says you will be under my complete domain and control to every minutia of your life and lifestyle.
American Idol does that. American Idol does
I get to
that.
buy it.
Not
American
the
Idol does that.
candidates on
American
American
Idol can sing.
Idol. Come
American
on,
Idol
guys.
can- those
American
people can
Idol
sing.
doesn't beat the
They
singers.
sign, no, but they sign people to these 10-year contracts.
Ebony was making a point that the 10-year contract is evidence of control. That's a different story.
Clarkson is a dynamite vocalist. Fantasia Barrino, dynamite vocalist. Cassie Ventura, not so much. Why
Because the ex-assistant said Cassie can't sing. Because the ex-assistant said she's not a good singer. She's not a good singer.
She's not a good singer.
And guess
She's
what?
actually not, Joe.
Deontay
The whole
Nash,
industry
Diddy
would agree with
released
that.
only 10% of the music that she produced. And then today, Nia said this exact quote. Diddy would always take away things he paid for all the time when he was upset. How can you not see that as force, coercion, control?
So Donald Trump has now inserted himself in the Diddy trial. Friday afternoon, Donald Trump said he would leave open the possibility of pardoning Diddy if he's convicted.
First of all, I'd look at what's happening, and I haven't been watching it too closely, although it's certainly getting a lot of coverage. I haven't seen him. I haven't spoken to him in years. He used to really like me a lot, but I think when I ran for politics, he sort of that relationship busted up. From what I read, I don't know. He didn't tell me that, but I'd read some little bit nasty statements in the paper all of a sudden. You know, I would certainly look at the facts. If I think somebody was mistreated, whether they like me or don't like me, it wouldn't have any impact on me.
Look, Donald Trump has a very jaded view of the justice system, and he's not unlike other people who have been through it.
Thanks for watching. Remember to show your support by liking, subscribing, and sharing. It's a blessing.